What it now, the Wednesday meeting. So first thing we need to do is we need a motion and a second to approve the minutes of March 14th this year.
Motion.
I second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
So carried. Next, in there is the auto engagement letter. And I guess bottom line, the auto engagement letter is $3,000.
We reviewed it. It's up under $500. They did not increase the price from last year by more than $500 on either of them.
Right.
So, I mean, to me, it was, the argument with CRC is, what do you, there's no activity. And their argument back is, well, there's compliance aspects of the audit. And I think Bob has on occasion validated the fact that it's not just counting the numbers.
Yeah.
But, and I was going to, I was going to see whether the adjustment could be made between the two entities, since one has money and the other doesn't, but I didn't think that was appropriate. We could, but it would be wrong. Oh, where's the ashtray? No. It's got the microphone in it. Oh, we have the microphone.
Okay, so,
We recommend, Mr. Chairman, that you approve.
okay, we need a motion and a second.
I'll motion.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
So carried. Any public comment? None? Good.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn, second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
So carried. Next, moving right along, we got the CRC meeting agenda, and first thing up is we have the draft minutes from August 2nd, 2022. We need a motion and a second to approve.
I'll motion.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Next, we have our administrative director's report,
This is CRC.
CRC.
The only thing I have to report is, we are going to do another mailing to the 20 top not-for-profit organizations in the county, starting with the hospital, to, identify that what CRC is and what it does and what it could do if they thought that tax exempt financing was appropriate for any of their planned expansion projects, just to remind people we're out there. And the CEDC board on Tuesday will be asked to approve another grant somewhere between $3,000 and $5,000, depending on. I'm going to take a look when I look at our last year's financials and see what it's going to take to cover the insurance, the accounting, and the legal. But I still think it's worthwhile to keep it, because you'll never get it back. And all you need is, the last time they financed the hospital bonds, it was, I can't remember what it was. It was like 20 or $30 million. And without the vehicle, it would have cost the not-for-profit entity a lot more, because they either would have had to have gone, to a bond issuer that had much higher cost, or they'd have to go at market rate. So I think, I would recommend that, we review it annually, but that we continue for another year to see if there's an opportunity to do some major projects, particularly the infrastructure money coming.
Okay, next we have the treasurer's report.
Yes. I'm looking for it quickly, but what? Our balance sheet is $518, and the profit and loss, we had a $3,000 grant from CEDC. The accounting is going from 2860 to 3,000. And I believe the insurance is covered through CEDC, so there's no insurance. And I don't know what the miscellaneous $60, must have been a Secretary of State filing fee. But we have net income after the grant of $79. I'll probably ask CEDC for a $3,500 grant.
No questions. We're gonna need a motion in a second to approve the
I'll make
treasurer's
a
report.
motion.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Move. Right on the back of the treasurer's report is the 2023 meeting schedule. The motion and the second.
I'll make a motion.
All those in favor?
Aye.
And moving right along, we have the auto engagement letter, which we just discussed. We need a motion, and a second to approve that.
I make a motion.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Public comments. No public comments. We need a motion, second to close the CRC meeting.
Motion. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Going to go right into IDA, Audit Committee. And first up is the draft minutes from March 14th, 2022. Need a motion and a second to approve.
Motion.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
So moved. And we have the auto engagement letter, which Mike had just alluded to. It went up, it is $9,200. So it went up whatever,
Yeah.
$500. So, any questions or anything on that? All right, then
Which I was surprised. I thought it might go up to 10, I mean, with everything else. $500 on 8 is what, less than 10%.
So we need a motion and a second to approve the auto
So moved.
engagement letter. Second,
Second.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Any public comments? No public comment, need a motion and a second to close.
I move and close.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, now we have the IDA board members agenda. And the first thing we have is the draft minutes from August 2nd, 2022. Need a motion and a second to approve.
Motion. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Now we have treasurer's report. Mike?
As you can see from the balance sheet, we're showing total cash of 161, but 21,000 of that is an escrow on the Apple Ice facility. So we have $140,000 of unrestricted cash. Prepaid expense, I assume, is insurance, with total assets of 162,000. We're showing, we were going to write off the 42 cents. I didn't think we needed a resolution, but you'll recall that the county had transferred a parcel of land several years ago to the IDA, which the IDA then sold it to Hudson River Valley Holding Company. It's an entity owned by Paul Harpus and Matt, I never get his name, Shevovich. Over the years, we have given them an extension because the original contract had a penalty mortgage that required them to build within 2 years of purchasing the site. We gave them an extension initially, and then we gave them additional extensions as a result of COVID. During that time, it's been 5 years since they purchased it, so they fully paid the initial purchase price that was secured by a note and mortgage. We have not released the mortgage because we did extend, the agency did extend till June of this coming year, 23. the requirement to build. I did have a call that they may be moving forward with the sale of that property. And I reminded them that we had a lien on it for the amount that the original note, the original purchase price, because the way it was structured is if you bought the land for $40,000, you had a $40,000 penalty note. In other words, if you bought it and built a building in 2 years or whatever time was extended, you got the land for half price as an incentive to build. And they said they're fully aware of the fact that, because obviously, at this point, selling it I believe will net more than the $80,000 or the $40,000 they have in it, or the 80 they'd end up having in it. And I just wanted to be sure they didn't think that because they paid off the first loan that the penalty mortgage went away because they haven't built on it. So they're fully aware of that. So it's possible that we would get another $40,000 of revenue from the sale of that property. In the past, the county has either asked that we remit the full proceeds of that money to the county, and when the note payments were made over time, the IDA kept the interest and did transfer the principal payments to the county. The county at this point has said on occasion to the CEDC under similar circumstances, hold the money to be directed by us in the future, either for an economic development purpose or to return it to us. So what we've done in CEDC is we create down under the equity, we create a restricted account called county directed funds, and we list it there. So I'm not sure, I think when that money comes in, I would ask the county how they would like us to deal with that, whether just send them the 40,000 or whatever the net dollar amount is, or hold it for their further direction. And with the ARPA money that they're distributing and other things that they're looking at, I would recommend to them that they have us hold it. I mean, one of the things we're going to want to be looking at next year is with no county-owned sites remaining in the Commerce Park, that we would be in a situation where is it time to begin a 12, 18, 24-month process of finding another parcel of land to acquire, and then to get the infrastructure in it with federal and state infrastructure grants that are available through all these funds that are going to be coming down the pike, and have Commerce Park 2. And I do think from a strategic position of the IDA, if we do close next year on the $25 million housing project in Greenport, even if it's done in phases, you'll have a $250,000 fee there. There's some other projects that have come, initially to us that potentially have IDA engagement. There was one in Greenport, I think, Jessica, that you or Martha had met with. We thought it was in the city, but you told me it was in Greenport. So that would be an IDA project. So, you're not like the Saratoga IDA sitting here with, $12 million in the bank. And land prices have gone up to a point that, to buy a 30-acre parcel to put the infrastructure in to develop a new Commerce Park. The fellow from Massachusetts bought a 30-acre parcel across the street from the Commerce Park. He hasn't closed on it. There's some issues, but it's between the car dealership and the landscaping business on, I never can pronounce that road. Yes. Gay-Bauer Road. He bought it for $480,000. And it's a pretty flat piece of land. So I think there's, a single parcel with water, sewer, gas, and electric, as we'll talk about in a minute, is they're selling for 200, 6 acres. But there may still be an opportunity, and I think, I'm just raising this for future discussion as to whether the IDA wants to get back in that business directly, whether the county wants to have a second commerce park, and whether they want CEDC or the IDA to be the facilitator of it. So, we should continue those discussions. The County Board of Supervisors did have the IDA sell a piece of land for $88,000, and we are holding that money. The county is going to pass a resolution to direct the IDA to transfer those funds to CEDC, because the county has asked CEDC to acquire a 6-acre parcel from Sestorino between the sign company on 9H and Kozels that backs up onto the Commerce Park, where they can get water, sewer, gas, and electric, because the county has arranged to design and plans to move forward with building a new facility for the Meals on Wheels program. Sarah, you would know what
Yeah.
is that what it's called? I mean, that's what it is. I don't know they have a fancy name for it. And the minority at the Board of Supervisors asked the majority to hold up on moving forward with acquiring the land in the name of the county until they could evaluate whether that building could be cost effectively expanded, so you could house the home health consortium group that rides around in all those white cars, healthcare consortium, in the same building with the people who are providing the meals to basically the same clients, or many of the same clients. The county was concerned that they would lose the seller would get antsy about, when are they going to actually close. So I think in April or May, they asked both the majority and minority voted to ask CEDC to acquire that property and hold it on their behalf. And CEDC was holding about $120,000 of county money from the sale of previous parcels. And the IDA is holding $88,000 from the previous sale of Lot 8. And the county is going to pass a resolution directing the IDA to transfer that money to CEDC. So we have the money to buy that parcel, and Andy tells me now it's going to close on Friday. So, we'll have to spot the money until all these resolutions get approved. And so I believe we discussed that we would need, I'm happy to answer questions before you consider a resolution, but if the county does pass a resolution directing the IDA to transfer the funds that it's holding on behalf of the county from the sale of the Lot 8 parcel to CEDC, that the IDA approve a resolution today to effectively implement what the county is directing you to do with its money. Obviously that's going to bring the $140,000 balance down to 50 grand. But again, it is the county's funds and that you're holding, and I think I would entertain any questions, and then if there aren't any, ask that a resolution be introduced for your consideration and discussion, and ultimately vote to transfer $90,000, $88,000, which is the net proceeds of the sale of Lot 8, to CEDC for the purchase of the Sestorino land at the direction of the Board of Supervisors.
Any questions? So I'm going to word this right, Andy. Have a resolution to transfer $88,000.
If so directed by the Board of Supervisors.
If so directed by the County Board of Supervisors from the IDA to the CEDC for purchase of Sesternino property in Ghent, or is it?
Yes. Now, ultimately, the issue is going to become if the county decides not to buy it. And CEDC ends up holding it to a point where in aggregate, it's worth more than the $240,000 purchase price. What happens to the excess sale proceeds? We're going to be about $20,000 short. So if we transfer it to the county, we're going to ask them for $20,000 to make up the full purchase price. But again, the county has been utilizing CEDC, and I think on other related matters could engage the IDA instead of CEDC to perform certain tasks like acquire a piece of property for a future commerce park. They've given CEDC $450,000 over 3 years in partnership with the Chamber for the Columbia Forward program. They've given CEDC $50,000 to provide for small business loan grant. If you get a business loan from us, you get up to 10% of your business loan in a grant on top of your loan. So if you come in and get a $20,000 loan, you go home with $22,000, and the first $2,000 is not, you don't have to repay it. We're used about more than a third of that money with the loans that Martha has closed at CEDC since the program was set up. And the county has been providing CEDC with ARPA money in connection with broadband studies. And they've just approved giving CEDC $250,000 over the next 3 years to hire a county affordable housing coordinator. And I think the thought there was, let's see if the county, certainly we have an affordable housing crisis, but can we use ARPA money for 3 years to see if that crisis can be alleviated? It will never be eliminated. And during that time, they haven't created a new civil service job at the county called County Housing Coordinator. That at the end of 3 years, when the ARPA money is gone, would have to be funded out of the general fund, whether you needed the position or not. So I think we are. I know 2 of you serve on the CEDC board. I think we're concerned about our capacity to be the path of least resistance for all of these programs, but we played that role last year or 2 years ago with Berkshire Taconic to give out $250,000 of grants, and also with the city's tourism board program and others. So because of the close synergy with the IDA and CEDC, I wanted to update you on those programs. With broadband, we do have a final list. The Public Service Commission put out a list. We compared ours to theirs, and we had a 70% discrepancy, which put both of us into a tailspin to see who was right. So we did have to get more county money to go out and update our broadband data. We now are about 60% discrepancy. Part of it is definitional. The PSC says that if you can access a satellite service that has broadband at 100 Mbps, that you have service, but anyone trying to use broadband using a satellite service in the county can tell you it's really not. It's not broadband. And they also have taken the position. It's going to be interesting because the federal money is going to be designated to help people get more than 25 service, not 100. And the state of New York minimum is 100. And so there's still a fairly large question, how we're going to do this. Because if the federal money comes down with definitions and regulations that precludes the state from achieving the metric that they've established, how are they going to make that money up? the good news is, the Senate Majority Leader is still from New York. And I think they'll have to figure out a way to do that. When you take our 1,250 plus or minus addresses, 340 were on Delgado's list, and Ghent, New Lebanon, Austerlitz, and Canaan were the recipient of $800,000. Canaan and New Lebanon are still in that grant program. New Lebanon or Ghent and Austerlitz decided to go on their own and not use that money, but to use ARPA money to finish out the broadband. It created a bit of a problem because Ghent had insisted on being the lead in the consortium of 4 towns. And by them notifying the USDA that they were pulling out, the USDA said, well, that grant then comes back to the Treasury because the congressional appropriation language only recited the town of Ghent. So unless Ghent is willing to act as the fiscal agent for that grant, the money's lost. So they've agreed to do that, which caused some consternation that you may have read about amongst some town of Ghent council members and the remaining members of the town board. So we are working with New Lebanon and Canaan and Ghent to get those funds and to take those 300 off the list. We believe that over the last year, since our list of 1,200 plus were identified, that the providers themselves have done 300 addresses. So we think we're down somewhere between 700 and 800 unserved addresses in the county. And we started this process 5 years ago where there were over 6,000 addresses. But you remember, we got the largest allocation of broadband for all money that when Cuomo, we got $58 million. And we also have 4 providers here. Anecdotally, also have seen that GTEL is requesting permission from the Public Service Commission to sell their business to a company called Archtop. We've met with Archtop. They're headquartering in Kingston. It's a new business that's basically early retirees from large corporate cable and broadband companies who have private equity raised to come in. And so, I think that, the broadband issue is such that there will be, I always felt there'd be 500 people that would never get it because, they're the last house on a dead end road and they have a mile driveway. And the real issue is going to be over 50% of the 1,200 addresses we've identified are more than 300 feet off the road, the house. And the current rule that the Public Service Commission has is the provider only has to pay for the first 300 feet. So that's where you've heard of people being asked to pay $10,000 to bring it to their house. The state's going to have to figure out what they're going to direct the providers to do there as well. So Andy and I did talk about, the Amador Family Development Corporation had looked at Bill First's land up at the corner of 9H and 66 for a upscale senior living facility similar to the Beverwick model in Albany and the Highland Terrace model in Queensbury. They are able to develop it and to own it, but they don't have the ability to operate it. So they're still negotiating with Northeast Health, which is a part of St. Peter's Health Partners, to operate it. And we have had several conversations with St. Peter's Health Partners related to what the demographic is here in the county to see if they would be able to support the operation of that kind of a facility. Basically, you put $250,000 up front, and you get that back when you die or you move out. And in the meantime, they hold that money, and you pay $300 to $3,500 a month in rent, and you get country club atmosphere living. You get a 1-room or 2-room apartment. You get a meal in a hotel dining room atmosphere. You have a swimming pool. You have a bus that takes you to Hudson Hall and PS 21. So it's for a very affluent population, but, I tried to make the argument to them that not only, is there does Columbia County have a higher demographic age-wise, but there is a large group of legacy second and third generation families that, have the ability to have a place somewhere south and then have a place like this. And also with the influx of the high-end second homeowners, if they want to retire here already, maybe they want to live out their days, but they said that a lot of those people will go and move to a facility like that where their children are.
Mike, did that also include assisted living?
Their plans in other areas have added assisted living and then the ultimate nursing care. I've been involved with the Teresian House in Albany for years, and 5-10 years ago, the average stay in a nursing home was 2.5 years. The average stay now is 6 to 8 months. So when you get moved to the nursing home, because of home care, independent living, like I just described, assisted living, and the nursing home becomes almost a hospice.
What about Camp Hill? Is that same price range?
Interestingly enough, they invited us to participate in their strategic plan. I know Rick Bianchi, when he was on our board, had been involved with them and had me go out and meet with them a couple of times about their project in Ghent. They were losing a lot of money there, and they were trying to figure out. But they're licensed as a home health facility. They're at the lowest reimbursement rate of businesses in that model. So they were being subsidized by the group out in Copay, the parent company or foundation. But they asked us to come to their strategic planning session, but we had conflicts. And so we're meeting with them next Friday out at their facility to talk to them about what their model is and how it fits into this. And obviously the Amador project would come to the IDA because it would be a for-profit development project, even if it was operated by a not-for-profit. And we've had some flirtatious discussions with people who want to build major facilities in the county, but again, they are in areas resort type, but they don't have water, sewer, gas, electric, and broadband. So I mean, what the health department will allow someone to put on septic, is going to dictate whether they come to us for financing.
This also becomes part of the whole housing issue as well.
Right. We did meet with the supervisor of the town of Greenport and their assessor, Mr. Craig Surprise. And they have met with representatives of Redburn, and they have resolved the valuation issue that was causing that project to be slowed down or almost abandoned. Because you'll remember, based on what the town was willing to accept as a payment in lieu of tax per unit, it would, and based on what the assessor was anticipating to value it at the same valuation as the falls, even though it's going to be smaller square foot and no amenities, it would have triggered a greater than 30% ratio of benefits, public government benefits to total project costs, and triggered the prevailing wage rate rules, which would have made the cost of the project not viable. So they have resolved that. They're now beginning to meet again with the planning board. As you'll recall, we have approved a inducement resolution based on their first application, but they will have to come in and amend the application once they have resolved their planning board issues, because as you know, the planning board serves as the lead agency for the IDA with respect to the State Environmental Quality Review Act. But I have a really strong feeling that that project will go forward. The IDA fee is due on closing, and if they do it in phases, it would be progressive. on the flip side, it'll take a year and a half to build a facility like that, and we really need the housing. So
Mike, have you named a czar of the housing? I
no,
know
we
you were interviewing people.
we have 3 candidates that are we're scheduling them to, I believe, to come in for in-person interviews.
Okay.
But, and I guess the final thing was Drumlin fully financed, or was there a anticipated second phase that would bring in an additional fee?
Yeah, I don't think there's anything
No,
further.
there's no
They
residual.
had they had a facility to close out with farm credit, but I don't think that.
That involved
us.
any-
Yeah,
So,
that's my understanding.
we did have a call from Apple Ice. They wanted to expand, but they needed public water. And, the closest public water to their site, we think is, at our old office on Route 9. It's 8 miles of, and 2 towns, right? You're gonna get across, well, at least Greenport to Livingston.
Okay, so what we're gonna need then is have a resolution to transfer the $88,000 to CEDC for the purchase of the Sesternino property.
Mhm.
So we need anything else? No, okay.
I'll make a motion.
Motion in a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
So moved. And we're also gonna need a motion in a second for the treasurer's report.
Motion.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
And we need did we do the EHY letter at the board level?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
No. We also have the meeting schedule. It's on the back of the treasurer's report for next year. Need a motion?
Motion.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
And we did we got the auto engagement letter. We need the motion in the second.
Motion.
All those in favor?
Aye.
So moved. And then we had the Hudson Valley, we just did that. We went over that. And Clock Estate, you did that, and we just discussed
Healing.
Healy Boulevard. Any other questions by any of the members? Any public comments? If not, we need a motion in a second to close the meeting.
Make a motion. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
So moved. Okay, guess we're all set. Yeah?
Thank you all. Have a great holiday season. If we don't see you,